Carrie, just saying welcome to the line is clean. Hey, Carrie. Hey, Peace over you. Hey, Patricia Ellington. Yes, Joyce loves marching band. Y'all knew y'all was going to get some of this. Hey, K. Chanel. Okay. Hey, wild card. Hey, Theo. Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. What's going on? Good evening. Welcome, Beauties and Bows. Thank you all for joining us tonight for... Uh-oh.
Go ahead. Let it go. Let it go.
That's not
Let
theirs.
it go.
That's not theirs. That's not theirs.
Oh, that's not FAMU?
Yeah, that's not FAMU.
Sounded like talking out the side of your neck.
Hey, everybody. Good evening. All right. So y'all heard the band. I do want to show y'all one more clipping of them. Give me just a second. Y'all didn't know that they, maybe some of you knew, maybe some of you didn't know, but they did play for the President Obama for his inaugural ball. I gotta show y'all that part. Hold on for a second.
They marched in the parade?
Yeah.
That one, okay.
That one. Because that one was too cool. Give me just a second. Here it comes, y'all. Oh my goodness, look, y'all. Y'all know how I am about the bands. Hey, Kay Summers, welcome. Hey, Tangela, welcome. Uh-oh. Come on now. Let me see what's going on. Are we buffering? Okay, here we go.
Put a little bit of respect on our feed.
Look, y'all. sitting over here hanging wide open, right? It is a huge band. They have 6 drum majors, and just wait, hold up. Wow.
Baby, baby, baby.
Man, boy, that was real cool. I like to see that.
History.
All right, let me get off the band. Y'all know I can get stuck on that, right? Sorry about that, but you know how I feel about the bands. Hey, everybody. All right, so this evening, y'all, we got Florida A&M University, and I have Mr. Augustus Mitchell, Assistant Director of Recruitment for Florida Agricultural and Mechanical State University. How you doing? Okay.
Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University.
Okay.
State. Yeah, no state. But thank you, though. We are a state school.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
It's all right.
All right, let me get y'all some information about them because they're really, really I was so surprised. They have y'all know how usually the HBCUs start, but let me give y'all just a little quick history about them. So Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University was founded as the state normal college for colored students. And on October 3rd, 1887, it began classes with 15 students and 2 instructors. Today, FAMU, as it has become affectionately known, is the premier school among historically Black colleges and universities. Right. Predominantly located in the highest hill in Florida capital city of Tallahassee. Florida A&M University remains the only historically Black university in the 11 member state university system of Florida. All right, so they got a lot of rich history here, and like I said, we have Mr. Augustus Mitchell, but he goes by Gus. So, Mr. Mitchell, give us the who, what, where you're from. Yeah, sure. Give us a little bit about you.
Well, how about you introduce me?
They know you, TC. Y'all.
No.
Y'all, Miss HBCU queen over here. She's the queen of HBCUs. Y'all know TC. Hey, Etta, welcome.
Hey, hello. I want to say hello to everyone. Good evening, and good evening to the chat. Thank you, Mr. Gus. Thank you for being here this evening. I always like to make sure that I am always giving honor to our ancestors because of such the rich history that all of our HBCUs do have. I want to also make mention of some of the notable alum that come from Florida A&M University. I want to start out with Miss Althea Gibson, American tennis champ, and she was a tennis player. She was the first Black woman to actually win a Grand Slam title.
And they unveiled a statue of her at this year's U.S. Open.
Wow!
Across the U.S. Open, they unveiled a statue of her, and she was also on the PGA Tour.
Yes, she was
a professional golfer.
She was a golfer.
Wow.
Yes, she was a tennis player and a professional golfer. Absolutely. Also, there's a gentleman that I think most of you all know, Lonnie Corrant, Jamon, Shuka, Rashid Lynn.
Okay. You guys familiar with Mr. Lynn? You may know him as Common.
Person we all know as Common.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember you.
He's the American rapper, actor, writer, and activist. We all know him as Common. John W. Thompson, he is an American technology executive. He serves right now, currently, as the chairman of the board of Microsoft. Mm-hmm. Major, huge. Mm-hmm. Another person, K. Michelle Pate. Mm-hmm. Better known as K. Michelle. Meadowlark Lemon. Meadowlark Lemon was an historical, iconic American basketball player, and most of us know him from the Harlem Globetrotters.
Mm-hmm.
He was also an actor and also a Christian minister.
Mm-hmm.
Tyrese Gibson, we all know Tyrese. We love some of his music, R&B. He's a rapper, model, and screenwriter. And last but not least, Miss Keisha Lance Bottoms, an American politician and lawyer. Currently, she is the 60th mayor of Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
So
Let me
we
give you
want
a
to,
couple more. You know,
thank you
Matt.
for such an awesome, powerful group of African Americans, Black people who are leading the charge and have led the charge. So I just wanted to mention those people. And again, we have another notable mention right here with us, and he's getting
That's
ready to
right.
tell us more about himself. Gus, there
No
you go.
problem. I am an alum as well. We left a couple of good people out. I'll be remiss if I don't mention. We forgot Will Packer, who's the hottest Hollywood producer right now. So if you've seen Rocky Balboa
Wow.
1 or 2, A Girl's Trip, Think Like a Man, Act Like a Woman, 1 and 2, Drumline, Takers, Being Mary Jane, The Quad on BET. All those are produced by Will Packer. He's a FAMU graduate as well. The
Okay.
vice president of CBS News, Kim Godwin, she's a FAMU graduate as well. The CEO of Converse, he's a FAMU graduate as well. So we have a lot of
Oh,
FAMU rattlers across the scene, and we almost won the first mayor, the governor's race in Florida. The first
yeah,
black mayor almost
Right.
won with Andrew
yeah,
Gillum, who was
right.
also a former FAMU SGA president and also a mayor of Tallahassee, and now he's a Harvard fellow and a correspondent for CNN. So I mean, so we all over the place. You know what I'm saying? Just like a lot of other HBCUs who put out a lot of notable alums. Let me get
Mhm.
back to the history real quick because I think our history real important.
Okay.
Let's say so we were established in Tallahassee in 1887, right? But we were actually developed in Jacksonville, Florida in 1884.
Mm.
So 3 years prior, in 1884, you all, and I think this history part is important. In 1884, in the state of Florida, that's when all state schools were formulated, right? So the state school in Florida that was formulated to be the model state school was the University of Florida. So when they formulated the University of Florida, it absorbed 5 different schools. One thing we didn't say in the history is that the individual who founded FAMU, his name was Thomas Gibbs. Thomas Gibbs founded 2 schools: the State Normal School for colored students and the State Normal School for white students. The State Normal School for white students was absorbed during the formation of the University of Florida. As a matter of fact, the University of Florida, being the flagship school, it absorbed every school but 2 schools: the State Normal School for colored students and the Florida Female College, which is Florida State. We both are in Tallahassee. So the flagship institution for the state of Florida that was supposed to be the model omitted women and minorities. That part is important. So when it moved Florida and
Wow.
was established in Tallahassee in 1887, the Heights of Seven Hills was also a former plantation. That plantation was infested with rattlesnakes. That's how it became the FAMU Rattlers.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah,
I
right, right,
get it.
right. Like, it comes full
Yeah.
circle, right? Yeah.
Wow. Hey Mo, welcome.
So
Oh my
now
goodness.
back to me. Yes, I am also a FAMU Rattler as well. I went to FAMU. I'm originally from Miami, Florida, and I attended FAMU for both my undergraduate and graduate degrees. It was a great decision that I made because I was the first one for my family to go to college. I'm the youngest of 6 kids. My mother was a third grade school teacher for about 30 years. So education was preached, but being able to afford to go when the reality hit,
Mhm.
it was a different situation. So I'm glad that their HBCUs were around to have a specialized education in an environment for an individual like myself from Miami, that provided that direction, who gave us that extra hug when we needed it, that extra slap on the wrist when we needed it, but more so always acted as a support system for us. So that's one thing about FAMU I definitely appreciate, the rich history of it. And it also provided me with educational opportunities, my professional opportunities. I've had a chance to travel the world. My master's degree is in global security, and I've visited 16 countries in my studies. So I've been to
Wow.
China. I've did presentations in embassies in China. I've been to Japan. I've been to 8 countries in Africa. We have a college over in Cape Coast in Ghana. I've been to the slave castles. I've been to
Yes.
Mandela's house. I've been to Nelson Mandela's home. He wasn't home. That's not the point. The point is that we had the opportunity. to travel. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of African American children from inner city, from inner cities that go away to college that never been anywhere. So to let alone have the opportunity to travel around the world in several different continents has been excellent. So I'm really proud and whole family really high. So
And you said you got a degree in global security.
yes, my master's degree is in public administration. I had a concentration in global security and international affairs. FAMU is a site designated to help diversify homeland security in the Department of Defense,
Mm.
and we have a program there for global security and international affairs. So a lot of us who have gone through that program have interviewed for Homeland Security, the Department of Defense, and different entities like the FBI, and going on to do great things. I just chose to continue to let other individuals know how they can take advantage of the education that HBCUs provide, and more
Okay.
so how to cultivate them for their families, their communities, and their industries. So that's my plight, and I enjoy it.
You
I want to make sure I
know,
answer your question. Yes, ma'am.
I have a quick question for you because Joyce mentioned something really interesting, and I'm hearing this amongst, of course, our HBCUs, the state normalized schools.
Yes.
Can you just break that down for a second, please?
So we say state normalized, meaning how the schools were formulated, how the state schools were formulated.
Yes.
Well, from my history of understanding the normalized state schools, are we referencing land grant institutions? Because commonly it revolves around those land grant entities. So in
Right.
land grant, FAMU is a land grant, like a lot of other HBCUs were established either land grants or your smaller private HBCUs were founded in the basement of churches. But those land grants were established called the John Morrill Act. So it was the Morrill Act,
Right.
and John Morrill, basically, the law stated that they will appropriate 30,000 acres of land to states to formulate colleges and schools to educate those who were less fortunate. Commonly, those were your freed slaves. And the act that actually benefited HBCUs were the John Morrill Act, the second act of the John Morrill Act, because the first one was being abused by states. They were taking the money and establishing schools for everybody but us, you know. So a lot of land grant institutions. And how do you know those land grant institutions? You will always find them with an A&T or an A&M, with those kind of, distinctions. Now the question is, why do we have those letters? Why do we have to have those letters? Because that's what they limit our education to at that particular time. So when we were founded as Florida A&M University, we couldn't study engineering and bio pre med and all those individual majors back in the day. We could study agriculture and mechanics. And we
Right.
talk
Wow.
about mechanics. We're talking about things like home economics, fixing wagons for horses, because those are the things they saw us doing on the plantation. So that's what they limited our aptitude to. So that's when you see these A&T, it tells a history. Even not only the formation and the history of these institutions, but the names. They have a
Mhm.
they have a telling history about how they were formulated too.
Okay. Oh wow, that's
Was that
interesting. Okay.
what you're talking about, TC?
That's exactly because, as you know, I'm A&T, and
Okay.
from the door when we go in as freshmen, we
Hmm.
learn everything that you're talking about. And that is such a rich history.
Hmm.
Um, and a lot of folks, when they hear A&T or when they hear agriculture, yeah,
Hmm.
that's how we had to get started. That was just the
Hmm.
bottom line. It was very strategic. And as we go, as we talk to you today, we will find out so many more things that at A&M, Florida A&M has to offer.
Absolutely.
So thank
Um,
you.
no problem. No problem at all.
All right. So you hit on this just a little bit, but what inspired you to go into higher education? You are already from Florida, but
Hmm.
in the beginning of your education,
Hmm.
did you know you wanted to be global
I actually
security?
when I no actually no. When I went to college, out in Miami, Florida, I went to a magnet school called Miami Jackson Senior High School. It was an inner city school, but it had a school for international business and finance. So I thought I was going to FAMU to major in business. That
Mhm.
was the goal. Until I got to FAMU and realized I wasn't really about that business life. To be honest with you, the first thing was I didn't even have the clothing to wear to class. You have to wear a business suit to class 3 times a week as a business major. I couldn't keep up with the wardrobe. Again, I wasn't as fortunate as some individuals.
Mhm.
That's the first thing, and the second thing was I went in business because we thought that that was the thing to do. Like, I'm going into business, try to make this money. But
Mhm.
I actually wanted to teach. That's one of the things I always wanted to do. I always wanted to be in instruction. My mother was a teacher again. My mother was a teacher for so long, and I always wanted to be, in that particular realm. This the thing, and I think this story really touches on a lot of students who go off to college as well. But when I got to college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I found myself
Right.
changing from one major to the other. I'm sure I made college more expensive than it had to be. But one thing I had to stop and focusing on was my skill set. And I don't think enough individuals, young people who are transitioning to college right now, are focusing on their skill set. So it's not about what I want to major in, about what can I complete,
There you go.
because
Okay.
you only reap the benefits of college once you finish that degree. That's the
Right.
only time you reap those benefits. So, I knew I'd like to share information, and I allowed my advisor to put me in a major because I didn't know how to advocate for myself. I wasn't familiar with the collegiate community. I didn't know. I just took those individuals as experts in their field.
Mhm.
And so they just placed me in sociology. I had a good GPA and test score. I just thought that was the process of college. But just
Mhm.
knowing what I know now was the one reason while I recruit, I really encourage parents and students to be advocates of your future. You know what I'm saying? Fortunately, it turned out for me. But imagine how many other individuals were placed in the major because they didn't know how to advocate for themselves or they didn't know their skill set. You know, so just so happens I really enjoyed that major. But one thing I did know is that I had to go get a master's degree in that area if I wanted to have some increase my employability. So that's what made me go back and study public administration and getting part of that global security program because the world is ever changing
Right.
and America is a makeup of small cultures. So understanding that part was very important, and I took advantage of it.
Let me ask you a quick question. So how would you say for us to go about investigating or finding out your child's skill set?
A couple things you can do. The first thing is we have to be advocates for our students' education, and that means you got to be intrusively involved. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
You got to know the teachers, know the counselors, but you also know your child. Now, there are two things. As I've been in this position, I've been blessed to travel all across the country and even out of the country, recruiting students across the African diaspora. And one thing that I will say that we must do is make sure we monitor the courses that our child are given, monitor the courses that they're given, because there's a lot of African American children across this country that are not given courses to challenge them. So when it's time to transition to major in a STEM-based field, they're not prepared because
Right.
instead of giving them, pre-calculus, they gave them college readiness or some kind of integrated math that doesn't expound on anything. You know, so they have to be advocates for their child's education and to be mindful to make sure their children are getting courses that are going to continually to challenge them. The
Okay.
second thing is making sure you're getting those courses in the right sequence. Those are the two ways that the school system across the country fail mainly African American children. It's through course sequence and course selection. So when you
I'm
get to
writing this
college,
down.
when you
Hold on.
when you
Course selection and course sequence.
course sequence and course selection, right?
Mhm.
So math is supposed to expound on each other. If there's a reason why that geometry comes after algebra and algebra 2 comes after
Exactly.
geometry. There's a reason why. It expounds on each other. But our school system will first of all, the majority of those individuals in decision making positions don't look like us, and we have to understand what the goal of a counselor is. The goal of a counselor is for a student to graduate from high school. Going to
Hmm.
college is only an option.
There you go.
So um, course sequence and course selection. So when it comes to course sequence, we have to make sure that the order in which the classes are given makes sense. So when I'm taking after my biology should be chemistry, after my chemistry should be physics. They all expound on each other. But
Right.
if you giving my child, you gave my child biology, then you gave him an environmental science, and you gave him a physical science, there's nothing to expound on each other. They haven't developed any kind of base in the science-based field to apply towards a STEM-based area. That part is important. When you all were in college and you had your curriculums, there was a reason why you took, your physics with your calculus or your
That's right.
chemistry with those things expound on each other. So I'm sorry, but I don't mean to lose you, but I
Go
was
ahead.
so
Go
ready
ahead.
to talk about
Uh,
those particular things when it
Mr.
comes to.
Mitchell, they said they're kind of hard of hearing. Can you turn your volume up?
How's that?
I'm gonna mute myself.
Is that better? That's better. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. What was the question? I want to finish. We were talking about.
So you were saying about getting our kids ready, and it's the starting with the skill set, course sequence, and
And
course
course
selection.
selection. So, as a result, what I've done is I've met with several areas at our university, professors, advisors, to develop some curriculum mapping for ninth graders and eighth graders. So these
Right.
are the courses that you should be taking if you want to major in pharmacy, if you want to major, if I plan on going to medical school, if I plan on majoring in agriculture, which is a field that's growing so much that students want to overlook because it doesn't seem sexy to them. So all the courses are basically all the curriculums that require pre-cal or calculus. I developed some predictive curriculum mapping. So when I see a parent of an eighth grader or a ninth grader, say, hey, make sure they're taking these courses if they want to become that doctor that they plan on becoming. You know, this is how we teach individual how to teach parents how to be advocates for their children if they have a blueprint for it. There's a lot of our parents that have gone to college as well, but education changes all the time.
Right.
Education is evolving, and if you're not in the loop or continuously in the loop, you can easily lose it. You know, so so those are things we got to be mindful of: being advocates for your children education, being intrusively involved. Don't be scared to email that teacher. Don't be scared to text that teacher. You know, now is the time. You know?
Now let me ask you a question because I recently met Dr. Juan Alexander in Atlanta with my son. He's 14.
Okay.
He's not in high school yet. He goes next year. And I got a little pushback saying that maybe I was pushing him too hard because he doesn't understand. But from what you just said, he's actually right. We're right on target to try and find out what he's gonna do when he
Oh,
gets to college.
absolutely. Listen, y'all. Um, when it comes to y'all education, we got to pay attention. A lot of us don't really, especially for those of us who may be listening, who may not be the biggest advocates of voting. See, now we got Bessie DeVos in office, right? So people are starting to feel that pinch when it comes to Pell Grant and different things along those lines. But outside of that, the structure or the
Yes,
focus of
I
our
we
education.
can't hear you.
Okay, okay.
Right.
So that's why it's imperative to pay attention to who we're voting for because education changes with every administration. Remember, it used to be No Child Left Behind. Remember that? You know, the national initiative for education changes all the time based on who's in office, you know, so that part is important. Um, but yes, that has created a heightened emphasis on students coming to college to be prepared out the door, at the gate. Back in the day when we went to school, we had general education. Oh, I'm just a general ed. I'm gonna take some general courses till I figure it out. Those days are gone.
Right.
Those days are gone. There's a heightened emphasis on students graduating in 4 years. You know, so that means you have to be prepared coming out of high school to know what you want to major in and be prepared for that particular field by taking the proper courses when you're supposed to take them. You know, so yeah, you know, the education is changing, y'all. State colleges or 2 year degrees are becoming free. There are more online degree programs.
That's
What
right.
population do you think that's going to affect? That's your HBCU population because it speaks to convenience. You know, and whenever you have those options out there, you're going to see HBCU enrollment decreasing because there are more options available for students, especially those individuals who, who are, who are Pell eligible. Y'all paying attention to Stanford? Individuals with $65,000 or less, they get full rides. It's
Whoa.
education changing, y'all, and that's why it's important to have these conversations and kind of have these vlogs so other individuals are.
Gus,
Yes, ma'am.
I want to make sure that it's real clear that they must also qualify because even though it's $65,000 for the income, your
Yeah,
SATs, if they still do it at the time, but your GPA is
yeah.
definitely going to have to be above a
Oh,
3.5 GPA.
oh, absolutely,
And here's
absolutely.
the thing, Gus. I just had, as a matter of fact, Dr. Juan Alexander, a graduate of Norfolk. His
Okay,
son is now going to attending North Carolina A&T.
okay.
Interestingly enough, he had like a 3.5 GPA, but he needed a 3.6 to get into the engineering school at A&T. Our schools are also becoming competitive, and
Absolutely.
but the things that you're talking about, Gus, and Joyce mentioned, when is the best time to prepare for parents to start preparing their children for college or some post-secondary type of arrangement for more learning? We can't just say that, oh, you're going too hard, you're being too hard in the eighth grade. In the eighth grade, they're formulating, they're cognitive, they're ready. You need to start to make sure that we pour in their heads some of these things that we just got in the 11th and 12th grade, because they're exposed earlier. So oftentimes, even in Philadelphia, I get people that start in the 11th and 12th grade for college, and I'm like, you're too late. It's late. So yeah, he's frozen.
I think so.
Okay.
Mr. Gus?
Okay. Either that or he's really good at being still.
Yeah, I think he's frozen.
That's
Y'all,
cool.
we'll give him a minute to come back in. Wow, he is really giving us some information.
So Joyce, Joyce, you're on target.
Yeah.
You have to prepare your all of us have to prepare these children. I say starting from birth, because there are steps that you can take at each learning curve that they have, and it's exposing them, taking them to the various colleges and universities just for a visit. Just go. I'm pretty sure in everybody's state there's at least 4 or 5 colleges and universities, at least.
Mhm.
Just visit. It doesn't even have to be an HBCU. Visit a college. Just start doing it early.
Melancholy said in NYC, Common Core is applied to get kids ready early in elementary school. Let
Yeah.
me go back because I saw somebody ask a question. So when he gets back in, we can ask. Okay, Felicia Fee said, do you think the college prep courses are preparing in the STEM area for college readiness? I'm gonna try and keep that. Here he comes, y'all.
Sorry, guys. Sorry. Sorry,
Yeah.
guys. Sorry.
Okay,
Sorry, guys.
that's all right. I got a quick
Okay,
question.
so the question was, if I wasn't mistaken, when to start preparing your children for the college experience, or
Yeah.
how do we start to expose them to the college community, or if college is even an option?
Mhm.
And prior to that, you made the statement about um, they're getting more competitive at HBCUs, which is a very true statement. Not only are they becoming more competitive, but they're becoming way more diverse. And this is a thing that Black students are, failing to realize, that HBCUs, there are more Asians, whites, Arabs, a lot of different nationalities going to HBCUs and take advantage of their education, and they raise the bar as well. You
Yes,
know,
they do.
so they take advantage of your engineering fields and your school of the environment and your pharmacies and your biopremeds and dentistry and those other areas as well. That's also making it more competitive because they're becoming more diverse. They're
Yeah.
no longer a secret. The second thing is, how do we get children? How does a parent start to prepare a young person towards uh, towards college? The first thing that I talk to students about is this. Um, Stop thinking that college is your only way. I know this is going to sound odd for this conversation, but
Go ahead.
when you begin to put the pressure on students that college is the only way, that creates anxiety. You know, there's a lot of other options outside of college. There are a lot of 2-year technical schools. Um, Elevator electricians make $85 an hour. You got welders make great money, um, and that has to be shared for a specific reason. If you go to college, you have to go in. Don't just go to go. You got to go in. That's the only
Mhm.
way you take advantage of the college experience. If you want to just go to, get a way to go to college, nah, man, that's not the environment for you. You want to go to take advantage of it. So how do we do it? The first thing is that you have to get children exposed to the college community early. So a lot of colleges have summer enrichment camps, a lot of engagement opportunities when it comes to open houses, um, and kind of get them involved in STEM camps, get them involved in music camps, and try to put that student in a variety of areas so they can figure out what they love to do. You know, but it requires the parents to be willing to expose them to different things. You know,
Right.
he may want to be an engineer, but he likes to draw. And if we paying attention to what's going on, how important graphics is to everything that we do, our society is changing, and the job market, the demands of the job market is based on society's demands. So what's in demand right now? Global warming. Global warming is affecting everything. You know, they're going to pass medicinal marijuana all over this country because of the economic side effects. So it's about exposing them to career fields that's going to be relevant to contemporary society. You know,
Right.
so that part is important. Get them involved and get them early acclimation in summer camps. The summers are so important because there's no summer school. So you have a bunch of idle minds running around, but there's a
Whoa,
lot of
wait,
free.
say that again. Hey, Gus, say it again.
There's a lot of idle minds running around. There's no
There
summer
is
school. What happened? What happened?
no summer school. It's
There
no
are
summer school. People
there's
don't
no
even
summer
know that
school.
there's no summer school anymore.
Right. And the summer school that's commonly offered is for students with remediation. So they're behind and they're provided, middle school to catch up, you know. But what about those students who are excelling? What are the summer opportunities for them? Where they're not old enough to work, but they're too young to do anything else?
Mhm.
Look at your local campuses and get them involved in some kind of enrichment camps. That's important. And being involved in that community, they would then have the experience to say, hey, I want to come in this environment, because students go where they're comfortable. Students go where they're comfortable. you know so early exposure is important.
I wanted to ask you a question as we segue into what are the different majors, and like bachelor's degrees, master's degrees that you all
Sure.
have at FAMU.
Well, we have over 100 degree programs. So to go down, we have like 56 bachelor's degrees. We have like 20 something masters. We have 12 PhD programs, 3 professional degrees as well. And we have 14 different colleges and schools. So anywhere from agriculture to architecture, education, the environment, um, school of journalism and graphic communication, School of Business and Industry, the College of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences, the School of Social Sciences and Arts and Humanities. Um, I'm missing some. The College of Law, definitely. The College of Education. The university was founded on the College of Education. And we have a big push on black males in education in America.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, Let me see. The School of Allied Health Sciences, the School of Nursing. And so we have 14 colleges and schools, including graduate studies and research as well. Some of our most prominent programs are a College of Pharmacy. We have the number one rated College of Pharmacy in Florida for minorities, number 14 in the nation, according to the National Institute of Health and Research dollars. We have a 6-year PharmD degree. Students, the average starting salary of a pharmacist leaving Florida A&M is $120,000. We have yeah,
In my eyes. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
we have a 5-year MBA program. So individuals can transition directly to their master's degree in business administration, marketing, finance, accounting, supply chain management, facilities management, a whole variety of areas. In addition to that, we also have a 3+3 law program. So individuals want to transition to law school. Our main law school our law campus is in Orlando, but our main campus is in Tallahassee. So we have a 3+3 law program, 3 years in Tallahassee, 3 years in Orlando, to secure your Juris Doctor degree. And paying attention to what's going on in society and the climate of America, how important are minorities in the law field?
We need it. I
Right.
know.
So we got some notable alums in the law field too. The Trayvon Martin case, those were FAMU graduates. It's Sandra Bland, South Carolina, Mike Brown in Ferguson. All those are FAMU graduates who handled those civil cases. So
Gus, I just want to say this, that out of we have about 103 HBCUs now that
roughly.
are still accredited. Um, Out of all of the 103, there are 4 HBCUs that have a law school, and of
Hmm.
course, Florida A&M is one. Um,
Absolutely.
it is. I just want to say that it is totally amazing, how expansive Florida A&M has become.
Hmm.
Um, and to be perfectly honest, I love the fact that you all have a law school that you don't necessarily have to have your LSATs to get in.
Well, you do have to have your LSATs to get in. The average LSAT score last year was a 148. So
148.
all
Okay.
right, so 148, 147, 148 is commonly what you is the average of the of those incoming. Now, if you are part of our 3+3 program, there are provisions for those students who originate as rattlers and they transition to that particular program. So there are
Okay.
provisional admission processes for those individuals who again are involved in that condensed program. But yes, there is an average, and there's still a need for minority attorneys. There's about 1 million attorneys in America, literally, that are bar card holders, but there are only 70,000 who are black. So there's still, and there's a big need for black prosecutors. But we have a lot of defense, but it's the prosecution that's putting it behind the bars for those unlawfully, periods of time. So we need black prosecutors. Is really what's in need. You know.
Okay.
There was a question. Felicia Fee said, "Do you think the college prep courses are preparing in the STEM areas for college readiness?"
You say the college prep courses?
Hmm.
Okay. If we're talking about magnet programs or specific strands, I would say yes, because commonly when you have a magnet strand for something like architectural engineering, they already have a pre-built curriculum for that program. And that pre-built program will speak specifically to students transitioning to college for that particular major. So if they were going to a magnet school for engineering, you can guarantee that they're going to offer that student calculus because that they understand that that's required at the next level, at the post-secondary level. If I'm going to a school, say for I could receive my CNA, and there's a lot of students who are in high schools or who are in magnet programs to receive their certification in nursing. You know, that definitely helps them as well. Because it provides not only the curriculum but the medical terminology and all those other things that's going to strengthen their candidacy to get into nursing school. So yes, those things definitely help, and to get them involved early to understand if they can maintain in that major is important. So early exposure was always important.
Mm, okay.
Do we have any, what you all have do you all have a football team or a
We
band?
do.
You
We
know,
have we have 13. We have 14 different scholarship sports. We're Division One AA. So we play Division One schools. So we play, say, a University of Miami. We play Arkansas. We play, University of Central Florida. But we also play other HBCUs as well. Our biggest rival on the football scene is Bethune-Cookman University. Every year around Thanksgiving, the weekend before Thanksgiving, we have the Orlando Classic, and that's
right.
huge for us. So we have a lot of rivals. This weekend we would have been playing North Carolina A&T this weekend. I do understand I have an Aggie on the line. Um,
So
so we
much.
do play A&T this weekend. So yeah, so we play on television 5 times a year. So all my parents, the black athletes, start going back to black colleges.
Mhm.
Yes, black athletes, black
My
colleges.
son, that's the challenge, and that's why I started doing this series
Hmm.
because he wants to go to Ohio State, and I'm trying to get I'm trying to
Hmm.
get it
Yeah,
somewhere.
but we understand why. That's the power of America's imagery. That's
Right.
the influence. That is the influence of America's imagery. You know, and I do understand they have great facilities and they play on TV, but is it going to benefit him as a young man developing in America, and for our society and for his family and for his culture? HBCU education will do that. And hopefully he's an athlete. He can definitely help an athletic department in some HBCU to make more money, to benefit more scholarships, to benefit more of his people. So
Mhm.
hopefully, he'll bring him on down to fam, and let me take him on a tour. And maybe he want to come play for us.
And one of the things that we want to do, Joyce, especially when we're talking about sports, as we see the climate again in sports changing, we see a lot of the sports gentlemen and young ladies now owning shares in some of these franchises.
Hmm.
Oh
Hmm.
yes.
You have, of course, we all know Jay-Z and Sean Puffy Combs, P. Diddy, whatever he is today.
Hmm. Hmm.
We have a slew of, if I'm not mistaken, Magic Johnson and so forth and so on. A lot of folks who are now becoming owners of some of these franchises. They're not playing anymore. They're becoming owners. They're the bosses. So if a player can make what, like 16, $20 million in 5 years, can we imagine what the bosses are making?
Yeah.
And so, especially at HBCUs, we're not only pushing and promoting, playing it, but if you're going to play, then go to the next step. Or better yet, if you're just at that boss level, then handle the business, you see. And so, and you have to understand that other folks, the trickery is hickory trickory dock, the mouse of the clock. And guess what? The time is now. The time is ours. And what we have to do is make sure that our young men and women see themselves as not only just the players, but as bosses, as the owners, as the stakeholders, as shareholders, so they can create generational wealth. I don't want them to get concussions and then be a burden back on our families when they come home. We have many of those. Okay, I have some of them in my family who went to Caucasian or the PWIs, and they did, and they're I don't. So it is what it is. Okay. They had
that's important too as well.
Different. Had they attended A&T, had they attended Elizabeth City or Fayetteville State, even though it wasn't a D1 at the time, they would have still been playing. They could have been a water boy. A water boy makes good money, but they would have still had their common sense and their head and their sense.
Absolutely. If they could find players over in Germany, Lithuania, and all across the world, they could be able to. They'll be able to find you at a HBCU. Trust me, talent is hard to hide. Talent is hard to hide. You know. But you definitely were making a valid point.
Hey, let me ask the chat if you all would please thumbs up this video. We got 4 thumbs up and 10 thumbs down. I know we can turn that around because we really need some good information.
Not thumbs down.
It goes with the territory.
I got you. Okay. But a couple of things I definitely want to highlight. This year FAMU was rated the #1 public HBCU by U.S. News and World Report. This year as well. So kudos to that, and also for having the #1 College of Engineering for all HBCUs in America as well. So we want to make sure we highlight those two points. And you were making a point about going to college. I think there's a overemphasis on students being academically prepared, and there's not enough emphasis on students being socially prepared. Those students, and because the social acclimation is what commonly makes or break a student, and this social acclimation or this social experience through college is what prepares them for lifelong challenges. So that part is important. That's why they go to PWIs, and the first thing they do is they do what? They join a Black Student Union. You know what I'm saying? If you was gonna do that, you might as well could have just go to a HBCU. You know what I'm saying? It makes no sense. You know what I'm saying? That's right. You know what I'm saying?
So break down just a little bit or you said social acclimation or social what else?
Yeah. So social acclimation to me is one just as important as being academically prepared.
Okay.
Is just as important as being academically prepared. I would have a student who has a 3.2 GPA, has solid test scores, and that are active in their school, as opposed to a student with a 4.0 GPA, an off the charts test score, but all he does is go home. See, the whole success process may be dictated or predicated upon the network that you develop, especially amongst HBCUs and especially in America. So this social adaptation part is very, very important. Sometimes at HBCUs, I know when I go to recruitment events, I get parents that say, "Well, she got to go to college because she got to get out of here." You know what I'm saying? But right. But we could be ushering her off in a worse situation that she's not prepared for. Social acclimation is such a huge part. of college as well. And it's more than just going to learn to become that physicist or learning to become that doctor or OBGYN or nurse, but becoming a black nurse, a black OBGYN that will face hurdles from America construct. Thanks to the current administration, we know that is real. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
and we know that it's alive. So it's a heightened emphasis on going back to HBCUs because it's more than just academic preparedness, but how do we navigate ourselves in this Trump America? That's
Mm.
important, you
I
know.
have a quick question for you in reference to recruitment because you are in leadership in the recruitment department. Number one, what are the recruitment requirement? What are the requirements for a young person to get in as a freshman? And second, social media. And do you all take social media into consideration when?
Oh, great question. Oh my God. Yes, great question. Um, but let me just go. Let me.
Without, can you give us an example without giving names
Okay.
of a doozy situation?
Well, this me answer the first part first. Okay, so to get into FAMU, what do you need? Okay, you must have at least a 3.0 GPA. All right, so that's in your core courses. So it's a recalculated GPA based on your core courses. So 4 years of math, 4 years of English, three natural science, three social science, two foreign languages of the same language, and two electives. So those 18 units are recalculated to formulate a collegiate GPA. All right, notice we didn't say PE, weight training, basket weaving, bird watching. Notice we didn't say any of those areas, only your core areas. All right. So at least a 3.0 on a 4.0 scale. On the ACT, we look at your subtest areas. So on the ACT, you must have a 22 math, a 22 reading, and a 19 English. I know sometimes you hear some universities say, "Oh, you need 1100 or a flat score," but we assess the individual subtest areas because that will let us know if that student requires remediation. So, so a student may have, say, a 26 composite score on the ACT, but they scored a 16 on the math and a 30 in the reading. So that still shows, how areas we can help address that student deficiency. So on the ACT, 22 math, 22 reading, 19 English. On the SAT, we look at your three two-digit subtest scores,
Mhm.
right? So you have a math and a reading score. That math and reading score on the SAT generates three two-digit subtest scores. So you need a 26 on the math and a 26 on the reading and the language. Now, why is subtest scores important? Your subtest scores measures the collegiate level questioning on the ACT and SAT, right?
Okay.
So for those test takers on the ACT and SAT math, for example, it may start off with 1 plus 1, then 1 times 1, then 1 times 2. But so it measures the more difficult questioning to measure if that person is prepared for post secondary options. So for that is a 26 reading, I'm sorry, 26 math, 27 reading and language, 26 math, 27 reading and language. You need two letters of recommendation, a 500 word essay, right,
Okay.
and an official high school transcript.
Mhm.
All right. We have a ton of scholarship money for those individuals who are looking for scholarships. We got a ton of scholarship money. They have scholarship money for Black women in engineering. That's the number one need in American engineering is Black females. The engineering field is 90% white male and foreign. Okay. So there's scholarship money in engineering. We have scholarship money in the College of Education. We need Black males, $10,000 for Black males. We have money in agriculture. Agricultural engineering is one of the fastest growing needs in America. We making gas out of corn, y'all. We making gas out of corn. So that's influencing the agricultural field. The School of Architecture and Engineering Technology, the School of Business and Industry, all those areas have residual scholarship funding as well. You know,
Oh, okay.
all right. So it's going to let students, let individuals know, and we have a very robust and active alumni base who
Oh, yes.
provides. Yeah, they provide a lot of scholarship money through our National Alumni Association to students who are transitioning to FAMU as well. So my students out there or parents out there, start applying now. The best students apply between August and November. The best students apply between August and November. If your child is applying in January and February, we need to think about another route for them, especially if they need some kind of funding to go to college. So make sure they're applying early.
August to November.
Your best students apply between August and November. Do you know why? Because your best students are ready since the 11th grade.
There you go. 12th grade is really just pomp and circumstance. Actually, you should be done. 12th, your senioritis. And of course, you're thinking about a prom. You're thinking about all these things that come along with being a senior.
Mm-hmm.
However, you're absolutely right, and I always tell my students I want them to start in their rising 12th grade year. So that summer, they have to start filling out applications and because also at your level, Gus, you guys are in recruitment. You guys
Mm-hmm.
are pretty much kind of laid back a little bit
Mm-hmm.
in the summertime. So you might have a little bit more opportunity to talk to a recruiter or
Mm-hmm.
talk to someone in recruitment,
Yes.
as opposed to when you wait in January and February,
Mm-hmm.
because it's where you guys are swamped at that point.
Mm-hmm. In the summertime is very, very important, and we spend a lot of time doing community engagement. That's our summertime. We trying to make sure we in the community, because to be honest with y'all, there's certain things you can't say in the classroom that you could say at a church.
Mhm.
You could be more intrusive, at a community center as opposed to being in a high school and saying, hey, your counselors may not care about you.
Just a
You
moment,
know what I'm
okay.
saying? So we spend that time in the summer being way more intrusive, doing more parent workshops, so they're
Hmm.
prepared, to assist and advocate for their children as well. So yes, you're right. The summer is a very, very important time, especially between their junior and their senior year. That's the most
Absolutely.
important. That's the most important summer they're going to have. You know.
Right.
Now I got a little throw a little wrench in here.
Joyce, I just wanted to hear about the social media example.
Oh, social media.
Okay,
I'm sorry. Social media. So
okay.
this the thing about social media today, in today's modern day student. There are students who lose their scholarships behind social media posts. Social media is the modern day form of communication, right? It's the modern day form of communication for this generation. So what that means is also it's the modern day form of modern day judge of character. So students, I speak to seniors about this all the time. Make sure that that you pay attention to the things that you repost, because scholarships play a role with that as well. They want to make sure they're giving their money to a student with sound character. That part is important, you
Hmm.
know. And so you're going to see more college applications asking you for your Instagram. You're going to see more college applications asking you for your Twitter feed. They're going to ask you for these things because that's where you're going to communicate the most. So that part is important. The back end of it is this. This is how the rest of the world assesses African American culture. When I had my opportunity to travel across the world, the misconceptions that other cultures have about us are the things that we repost. So that part is very, very important. What the other cultures of the world know who we are.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you.
No
Thank
I
you.
problem.
something different that we've never done before. I have a caller, Truth Slayer, on the line. She wants to call in and speak to you. Uh,
Okay.
so
Is this
this,
a first? This is a first?
yes, this is the first time we ever did a
Yes.
call in.
We groundbreaking. We groundbreaking today, y'all.
All right. So
All right.
who's ready, Truth Slayer? Go ahead.
Hello?
Hi. Okay, we can hear you. Can y'all hear her?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Hey, I just wanted to call in. I actually just came in and I went to Joyce and I saw and it was on FAMU. Of course, I had to call in because both of my parents are alumni from FAMU.
That's
Okay.
Both
right.
my dad.
That's right.
They went, they went in 1968, 69, on the Upper Bound program. My
Mm.
uncle as well. And I do know for a fact that even other schools sometimes will try to pluck the best students to come from FAMU because my mom back in I think here's the letter, the official letter she kept all these years. I think in 1968, well, Yale University offered her a full scholarship. But back then, she said that being a minority, they wanted to see how well a minority would integrate with an Ivy League school.
Mm.
My mom said no. She said because the first year she'd have to go up 1 year, and none of her credits would count. However, after that they would count. So she declined that and stayed at FAMU.
Wow.
Yeah, she kept up
Wow.
better. She was accepted to Yale. And when I first saw that, she told I said, Mom, do you realize how many presidents and senators? She said, it doesn't matter, Stacy. She said, no, FAMU was the best thing that ever happened. It's for even my dad, Tallahassee. I'm not my hometown. I'm not that far. I was born not that far from there, from Tallahassee, Panama City Beach. So,
okay.
Yeah, that's where my home. I mean, I don't live there now, but my mom and family live there. And she said that experience was the best thing. I've often asked her, I said, Mom, do you ever regret not going to Yale? She said, no, because she said at that time, she said, doing civil rights, she said, a statement needed to be made that we are just as equal to a white student. And if I work hard, my credit should count. And she declined a full ride to Yale. And she loved her experience at FAMU. Sure did.
Absolutely. That's a great story.
Three of your around your mother and father, and you said an aunt that all went to FAMU?
Yeah, my dad has a twin. Well, deceased. My dad is deceased, and has an identical twin brother. Both of them went to FAMU as well as my mom.
Oh wow!
My mom came over here in the 10th grade from Germany. Her dad was in the Air Force, and he was stationed in Tyndall, Panama City. That's how they ended up there. And so when she graduated, she went on an upper round program with my father and his brother, my uncle, and they all did FAMU. I know FAMU just had their homecoming.
That's right.
Just for growing up, me and my friends go to FAMU homecoming all the time. The band is one of the best to me in the world. That band is just off the chain. Experience.
Right.
But you know,
you have to see
the
it.
caveat behind what she's saying is that hasn't changed. See, now you know, at universities like FAMU and your A&Ts, they now have what they call graduate feeder programs. And graduate feeder programs are programs where PWIs are recruiting the best Black students who finish their undergraduate degrees with at least a 3.0 or higher to come to their institution, and they're pay for them to get their master's, PhDs, doctoral degrees, law degrees, because they need Black students at PWIs at the graduate level. The graduate level is what generate the most money for the institutions. The graduate level, the research dollars, the graduate level dollars. Your master's degree costs more than your bachelor's, right?
Yes.
So they are plucking the best students from your A&Ts, from your Howards, from your FAMUs, your Yales, your Cornells, from your Browns. And if you look at the population of students at those PWIs that are in master's degree programs, there's a high likelihood there's a large population that originated from HBCUs.
Absolutely. And you know what, Gus? I just wanted to say something, and I wanted to say hello to Truth Slayer. Hi, Truth Slayer.
If I'm not mistaken, I think I've heard Judge Mathis say that he went to FAMU, as well as the actress Debbie Allen, and I think her sister.
No, Debbie Allen and her sister went to Howard.
Went to Howard, yeah.
Okay, Debbie went. I just remember I know I've heard Judge Mathis say that, and it's like, wow.
Truth Slayer, how are you? This is TC. How are you?
I'm good.
Okay, I wanted to tell you something, because now that you're on this subject, and Gus just mentioned something, he just dropped a little tea. Here in Philadelphia, we have a young lady by the name of Mary Beth Gassman, a Caucasian lady who's at the University of Pennsylvania. And her statistics were that the people that come from HBCUs do far better in graduate school than the young people that are going to PWIs. And what she said was that at HBCUs there is a grit, there is a grounding, there is an expectation from us, and we hustle different. And so when we get to graduate school, we're grown folks at that particular point. We're grown, okay? And so and these are her statistics from the University of Pennsylvania, and so she's created some minority institution, and what they do is they assist minorities in getting into graduate schools, of course, for the what do you call the Ivy, okay? And because of course, Gus, you just said it, the money is in graduate school, the research and all of that kind of stuff, and we're researching things that are they can't get into our communities and research, so they need us to get into graduate school, get those research dollars from all the different types of foundations and charities, endowments. And when we go into our communities and study, they know that they can't get into them, so they know that we're the ones, and we do it, and we do it as existential job. So yes, I am an advocate of HBCUs. I know that we have our issues, but who does not? And but I guarantee you, once you get in and you prepare properly, once you get there as a parent, you're going to be, and as the student, they're going to be so happy that they made that decision. So happy.
Absolutely.
Do you think that, like I said, from that experience, and that was back in 1968.
Wow.
Ivy League colleges was, they were plucking back then, trying to get the best of the best because you had to have a certain score.
Yes. But let's consider this too. Let's make sure we understand the historical context now. At this point in time, they had to let us in. See, after the Brown versus Board, if they want to continue to receive federal funding, those schools had to let us in. So what they they created the allure that white ice was better. You know what I'm saying? So though a lot of those initiatives was based on the fact that they didn't necessarily want to do them, but they had to if they want to continue to get federal funding. You know what I'm saying? So that part is important as well. That's why those students still go off to those colleges. They weren't necessarily treated fairly. They wasn't provided with the proper resources. They didn't live in the best dorms. They still had a struggle that went along with that. It was really it was a lot of scarring to become a trailblazer. It was a lot of scarring to become a trailblazer.
And Gus and Truth Slayer and Joyce, just so you know, just because you may enter into that PWI or whatever, that doesn't mean that you graduated. So you already know, right? See, so we also have to talk about not just getting into any college right now or university, but who's graduating. Okay, and oftentimes some schools have a deliberate mission to just get you in. They get they get that funding, federal, state, and local, as well as various endowments from a private level, the Ford Foundation, the DuPonts, etc., etc. They get that money, and then they don't necessarily graduate us. So here's the thing. We want to talk about how, whether or not a person, how many people we're graduating.
Okay. All right, y'all.
I agree.
Let's get ready to go ahead and wrap this up.
Okay.
Thank you, True Slayer.
Thank you for calling first time. That's right. When a rat long. See what I'm saying? Groundbreaking.
So right. I am gonna just to wrap up and everything. Let me see what else did I need to. You done touched one thing on our way out. Will you please touch on what you told us about veterans?
Veterans. Okay. Well, FAMU is a Purple Heart institution.
We can't hear you, guys.
FAMU is a Purple Heart institution.
Wow.
So individuals who are wounded in combat who receive the Purple Heart, they receive free tuition at Florida A&M University. We have a robust Veteran Affairs office. So those individuals who may have received their GI Bill benefits and they have a son or daughter who is attending FAMU, they can grandfather those benefits over to their children as well. State schools love that because that's money in the bank. The GI Bill is going to make sure they pay out. So that's great, man. And right now, there's a huge push on on students going into, not only for veterans, but to go into RTC and study things like psychology and nursing through the post-traumatic stress. So the need for minorities in RTC is still a heightened need, and also for those veterans who would like to come to FAMU and maybe grandfather over some of those benefits, that would be great. They have a complete program. They have veteran housing. They also have, we have a counseling center as well that we make sure that's attached to the veterans as well, because we do understand some of the trauma they may have experienced.
Wow, that's unheard of to me.
Mhm.
There's one. I'm gonna take this last question. J. Dot, the juke joint, said, "What is the retention rate at FAMU?"
82%. We're proud of that one.
Hey,
Yeah. You threw me a good one there. You threw me a softball one there. Yeah. So last year it was 82 and we rose to 83%. And that's a great question. You know why? Because on our pre-call we mentioned that who are our competitors. And FAMU is a state school, so our competitors are other state institutions like Florida, Florida State, South Florida, Central Florida, your other PWIs. So retention is important because we have the highest concentration of minority students who receive Pell. So 85% of our students receive financial aid, 65% receive Pell. So that means we're matriculating a population of bright students who probably come from a lower SES, you know. And so that's one of our benefits as well. And we're third on the social mobility index. So the average graduate earns $47,000 a year. So the average graduate commonly comes out making more than their parents, But that's what HBCUs are, y'all. We're places of cultivation. That's what
yeah,
we do. This is how we create the CEOs and those industry changes. This
that's
is
right.
what we do.
I just have something that I always ask Gus, and then I'm done.
Okay.
The main things that are the most important things outside of the band, of course,
Okay.
an infirmary, an
Okay.
infirmary, and a in the cafeteria. How's the food? What's up?
Oh, listen. Well, on campus, man, listen. It has come a long way since we've been in school. I tell you that. You have more choices than mashed potatoes and corn back, than we had back in the day.
Right.
But on our campus, man, we have a variety of things on campus. We have a Chick-fil-A on campus. We have a Wing Stop on campus, a Pizza Hut, tropical smoothie, Starbucks in the library. We have a fully functioning Starbucks. Get your caramel macchiatos with your lemon pound cake. If you like, that's my order.
Wow,
Um,
me too.
right. So definitely that as well. Student health services as well. We have a robust clinic, and we also offer pharmacy. So we have our own pharmacy on campus as well. So there's a lot of things that we have. FAMU is one of our larger HBCUs. We have over 10,000 students, and so we're one of the larger HBCUs. So we're proud of that. Oh, I almost forgot. 2 weeks ago we celebrated 132 years. October 3rd was 2 weeks ago from this day. So we celebrated 132 years of existence, man. We started on a plantation, but 132 years later we're
That's
still
right.
here,
All
and we're
right.
growing.
Wow,
So that's a beautiful thing.
that's huge. Well, Mr. Augusta Mitchell, you
Augustus.
Augustus. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's very unique for a first name, though. You know, right?
Augustus. Yeah, Augustus. Yeah, it means respectable. Yeah.
Def-
Okay.
It's a strong name, right?
yes,
Well,
it is.
It's
it
strong.
is.
Yeah. uh
Did you like it when you were growing up, though?
You had to grow on me. My father's name is Gus, and so
Oh,
he named me Augustus, and it's after it's a Greek name, from the Roman Empire, Augustus Caesar.
mm-hmm.
Augustus.
Uh, yeah, it was a title, so it was spelled in all caps.
Right.
But you know how, and I'm gonna let you go on this note. But
Mm-hmm.
how important, how powerful are names? And
Yeah.
listen, I read applications for a living. You know what I'm saying? It's the names that's coming across.
Oh,
How powerful is names. You buy into what you're given. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? So when I found out what my name was, I made a point to represent my name properly, and I named my son Augustus Jr. So he can understand the power of being respectable and respecting your culture, and
mm-hmm.
respecting your people and respecting your community. So it's the power of names, man. So yeah, if people out there listening, give them some strong names.
Joyce, one quickie. Emails. Of
Yes.
emails is major. I come across a lot of emails. People don't give me a professional email, so I'm always chocolate thunder. Really seriously serious. Okay,
Very,
you know,
very, very true.
herb for life. Like really.
Yeah.
Um, seriously. So just do me a favor and how important it is for communication and creating an email that is professional.
But it's simple. First impressions are lasting ones. First impressions are lasting impressions. Not just for when it comes to college, but it's a high likelihood that you're going to continue to maintain that same email through college. Now here you go applying for an internship using, you see what I'm saying? So, these things carry over. But it really revolves around, if you're thinking about transitioning to college, you got to start thinking different. You don't go to college to go, you go to college to finish. And so it requires those small steps, like changing my perspective, changing what I repost, changing what I say, changing who I hang around. Those things are a part of growth, you
Yeah.
know. So this, I want to make sure we emphasize that. You'll get rid of the hot mama and all that at gmail.com when you experience growth. Growth will change a lot of things. Yeah.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Let me crank this band up real quick. And
Get up.
yes, well, it's finished. We're gonna finish. We're gonna go out on FAMU Marching Band 2009, President Obama's inaugural parade.
Yeah.
Huh?
I just told you so much.
Man, thank y'all for having
yeah.
me. Thank y'all for having me, man. And I hope at some point you guys give me a call back or shoot me an email. I'd love to come back on again.
Absolutely. I will be, we have to do a tour, right, Joyce?
Hey, man, listen.